Batman. No matter the threat, you know he'll survive. Unless he's being controlled by me. Then his survival odds go way, way down. Hiya friends, it's Shenanigan, your super rat friend, and it's time to beat LEGO Batman 2 without dying a single time. If I do find myself coming apart, I'll have to restart the entire game over. Here's a handy dandy death counter, which I'm sure we won't need. Right? Let's keep that a big old goose egg. Also, I'm not allowed to use any red brick extras that would provide protection from death, like invincibility or regenerate hearts. Where's the fun in that? That doesn't stop me, though, from being able to play characters that naturally have those abilities. Now let's go do the statistically improbable and survive a single night in Gotham City. The game begins at the Man of the Year Awards, where you can either choose between Bruce Wayne, the billionaire, or Lex Luthor, the billionaire. Seems a bit of a rigged contest, I gotta say. Joker obviously thinks so too, as he shows up to steal the show with a whole host of supervillains. A mere moment later, and Batman arrives. What a wonderful coincidence that he just happened to be in the neighborhood. I take down Harley with ease, and quickly discover the Riddler hiding. We don't capture him right away though with how mesmerizing his tap dance routine is. Some things are just too beautiful to interrupt. And when he hides behind this wall, I drop some anvils on his head. Even when I choose the wrong spots, Riddler just stands there and waits to be bludgeoned. I would question his intelligence on this more, but I think getting hit even once by an anvil is gonna shut most of his thinking off. I face off with Two-Face, but he cheats and actually puts up a fight, killing me as I switch to Batman. Harley and Riddler didn't fight back, but I should have known he'd be double the threat. Second time's the charm, as I find Batman's sensor suit to be my favorite suit right from the start. It provides invisibility so I can beat up the goons while they pummel Robin to death. Why do you think he wears the bright attention-grabbing colors after all? Batman's gotta take every precaution in this dangerous gig. A rain of pies nearly wipes me out while fighting Joker, but invisibility once again to the rescue, making for an easy fight. Smashing Joker through one wall and then kicking him out another, you would think would be writing his death certificate. But nope, it's just another ticket for his escape. Before I can give chase, I stumble across a bicycle and immediately ride it into a wall. While trying to get unstuck, the bike grows extremely red hot and then blows up. You know, as bicycles are known to do. It's why we give them to children at such young ages. Really test their survival skills. Truly, the unskippable cutscene's the bane of my existence and also my greatest motivation to not die. Sadly, not enough motivation to counter my sheer stupidity and natural inclination to chuck myself off of buildings. Catching up with the Joker, he attempts to blow me away, but what he doesn't know is LEGO Batman is not a Batman that holds back. Firing a rocket right at Joker. I think Joker's face really sums this moment up. He almost gets his revenge with his giant dodgem cart, but thank the Bat Lord for henchmen to murder and steal the hearts of. This is why I fear LEGO Batman more than Arkham Batman. Arkham Batman goes through so much trouble fighting tons of henchmen, and it takes him several hits to knock out just one of them. But LEGO Batman one-shots everyone, clearly not following a no-kill rule, and eats their hearts as sustenance. I'd rather face Arkham Batman any night. With Joker down, Batman heads home, but not before vandalizing these random statues. Why? Because Alfred says so. Good enough for me. Back in Arkham for about 2 minutes, Joker's freed by Lex Luthor and starts yet another mass breakout. That has to be a new record. I mean, for keeping him imprisoned. I think that's the longest Arkham's ever managed to hold the guy. I go to put a stop to it, but instead get distracted dying horribly in this acid pool, which quickly becomes one of my favorite hobbies. If I'm not dying that way, then I'm missing the zipline at the end of level 1 and falling to my death. Or sitting through the 4.5 minute starting cutscene so that the first thing I build crushes me immediately. I think when I was born I put all my stat points into luck, but unfortunately it turned out to be all bad luck. Shown here when I spontaneously combust as Robin for zero apparent reason. The LEGO gods just decided to smite Robin for the fun of it, I guess. When I finally make it past the acid pit and successfully stop Catwoman from escaping by putting her in a terrible motorcycle accident, the universe punishes me by reaching down from on high and exploding me 5 times in a row for absolutely no reason. I mean, karma-wise, I more than deserve it. Logic-wise, not at all. This level of glitch is a bit too evil and unfair for even me, so after some thinking, I decide to ignore these spontaneous deaths. If you feel otherwise, that's okay, but I'm still going on. The rest of the level is incredibly easy as none of the villains seem to be trying to escape, and getting run over has zero consequence here, which works for me. I head into the asylum and stumble upon this x-ray room, which is hopefully not predicting my future. Likely Robin's future though. Batman does not have the best track record there. Case in point, a minute later when I use invisibility to hide from the inmates as they brutalize poor Robin. Something that I keep doing while fighting Scarecrow. Makes the fight super easy for me, though likely quite traumatizing for him. You know, I think I'm starting to understand why the universe has been spontaneously killing me. Ignoring the moral ramifications of my actions, I had to play with chemicals. The Joker's left quite the mess, but it's not the henchmen or the toxic fumes that worry me. It's the very unsafe falls. Thankfully, I managed to take it nice and slow, making it safely through. Then, of course, the factory bursts into flames, pushing me to move faster, but it doesn't take long for Robin and Batman to become trapped. Batman decides the best move is to jump, but not before throwing Robin to his certain death first. Guess Batman wanted to be sure if he was gonna die, he'd take one more Robin to go. Unfortunately, Superman shows up right then, preventing both from plummeting to their doom. Gameplay-wise though, Superman really is super. He can't fall to his death, which is my biggest weakness, and he's immune to damage. Only problem is, he refuses to carry Batman and Robin to safety, insisting on making them walk through the burning, collapsing building instead. He even refuses to carry the duo across the roof. Instead, I have to carefully balance back and forth, certain I'll die at any moment. I extinguish the fire, foolishly dismiss my best ally, and head to track down Joker and Lex Luthor. I have trouble locating them for a moment, but then, it hits me! The driving sections of this game are the easiest sections, as there's very little chance of taking damage if I just fire indiscriminately with little care for collateral damage. I'm fairly certain I'm doing more damage to Gotham than they are. Clearing the tank out is simple with the use of the sensor suit, though when I have to discard it, the Lex bots don't provide much threat still. When he steals the kryptonite that Luthor and Joker created, Batman's knocked off the tank, but he's saved by the Batmobile. Unfortunately, Luthor has a gun that specifically only targets black Legos, which is pretty messed up to have in the first place, I gotta say, and Joker uses it to destroy the Batmobile. With only Robin's motorcycle left, I commandeer it and abandon Robin to the mean streets of Gotham while I head home. At the Batcave, the kryptonite proves not only to be a fake, but also has a tracker in it, leading Joker and Luthor right to us. I immediately open fire on the two, with every vehicle in the place. You'd think one should be enough, but for some reason, Batman hops out of every single vehicle after doing exactly 1 damage for no clear reason, giving the evil duo a chance to fire their gun and destroy the vehicle. I have to assume it's just because Batman wants an excuse to use all his toys. When Joker traps us in the elevator, hanging on for dear life, he and Lex steal all the kryptonite Batman hoards here. We would be burnt little bats ourselves if not for Superman showing up once again in the nick of time to save us. Even with the Man of Steel, we're not out of danger yet as a massive amount of the floor collapses. Once again, the easy solution would be for Superman to just carry the duo over to safety. But nope, gotta do this the hard way. I have to make several trips along these collapsing support beams, terrified of falling at any moment. Oh, come on! Superman's mocking me now! That's a new low. Despite his lack of help, we escape anyway, but then cutscene him is carrying us. I could have used this earlier, pal. As the responsible heroes we are, we immediately take off after the villains, and definitely don't spend half an hour at the amusement park riding fun spaceship rides or playing the games. Nope, we race through the skies right away for justice. Luthor's plane provides zero threat for Superman with his natural invincibility in place, so I stick to piloting as Batman as much as possible, so there's at least some threat. Breaking into the ship, we'd probably be stuck, but thankfully this LexCorp plane is carrying a Batman suit for me to use. Not sure why they have it, but it works for me. I then grab a jetpack and start firing missiles wildly throughout the ship, making for an easy level. Of course, the moment I catch up to Joker, Batman's dropped through a hole, and Superman, after a few moments, goes and rescues him. Doesn't he have super senses? This is starting to feel on purpose. Tracking the villains to LexCorp, the heroes get into an argument with the receptionist, and naturally, this argument plays out as she sheds her skin and attempts to murder them with a spray of gunfire, which is obviously zero danger to Superman, so once again, I stick to playing Batman at every chance so that I can feel the thrill of danger. There's no fun in winning if there's no risk of losing after all. I blow the receptionist up and begin tearing apart LexCorp bit by bit, assaulting all its scientists and dismantling much of its technology. Feels like there's supposed to be consequences for these kind of things. But I suppose the police really don't do much in this world. Works for me. The hardest thing to destroy is this robot dancing up a storm. But sometimes being a hero takes the strongest of wills. Catching up yet again to the villains, they escape yet again. This is the pattern that I'm really not enjoying. How much property damage and loss of life do I have to cause before they finally surrender? Another flight battle occurs, and this goes even easier than the first. When I land on the giant Joker mech, I accidentally freeze Batman and he falls off. But somehow, likely the sheer force of his will, he stays floating there, despite the high speeds at which we're traveling. I try to help free him from the ice, but end up freeing him from his mortal coil instead. Pretending I did nothing wrong, I take down the mech with ease. Luthor reveals his stash of kryptonite, knocking Superman out. But I gotta ask, how the heck is he gonna take down Batman? Oh, a gun! Yeah, I guess that works. Weakened by his exposure to kryptonite, Superman can no longer fly, forcing me to use other means of transportation. Slightly less stylish, I admit, but what works, works. The Joker mech knocks us into the subway, where we fight off tons of goons, but I find heat vision is very effective at ending them. There's no way the game can convince me Superman isn't killing tons of people, but best not to think about it. Escaping the train, we make it to Luthor's political rally, where he's using Joker gas to brainwash people into voting for him. I always thought Joker gas just made people laugh themselves to death, but nice to see it has multiple functions. Not sure why he thinks gassing a few of these campaign spots will give him the presidency, but I'm not the evil genius here. I do find it quite easy to take down the bots and thugs barring my way to him, and using a few bright lights on the mech, I'm able to weaken enough for Superman to charge right through it. This takes Superman, my greatest weapon, out of the fight, but it also triggers the next level, which involves more random shooting on the streets of Gotham, while pursued by the massive mech. Dropping huge statues on it is an easy solve, though I gotta wonder how many civilians I crush every time I knock one down. The Joker mech has leaked all over, and thanks to Batman's planning, the streets of Gotham are now painted with a giant Joker face. While it's certainly an interesting artistic piece, its real purpose now is it can be seen from space, meaning the Watchtower, the Justice League HQ, now knows Gotham needs help. You'd think the constant news coverage of everything happening throughout the entire game would have been enough. Or, a simple phone call, but I guess those options weren't dramatic enough. Knowing their defeat is imminent, the villains decide to topple the largest tower in the city, purely out of spite, which I'm fairly certain makes them terrorists at this point. Before this, they were just using standard political tactics, like rampaging in the streets and brainwashing people, so I don't blame them too harshly. With Cyborg and Green Lantern here to help, I find it simple to make my way through the fighting in Wayne Tower. How the heck the Joker's goons are already here so quickly? I have no idea, but I respect their hustle. They are truly on top of being everywhere I am with barely a moment's notice and certain death awaiting them. I hope they're paid well. Climbing to the roof, it's a simple matter to knock the Joker mech off the tower, but for some reason we decide to jump after it in order to have a fight while falling. Why? Once again, I'm fairly certain everything we do is for the sheer coolness quality of it. Unfortunately, my skills don't match to the coolness level needed, and I take plenty of damage fighting Joker. I repeat the ever so helpful mantra of, please don't die, please don't die. But sadly, it's not enough to stop me from smashing into debris and dying. Of course, the very end of the second to last level is where I finally die again. Should have figured. You would think after the amount of LEGO games I've beaten without dying, I'd get better at these things sooner or later, wouldn't you? Yeah, that requires thinking, and that's a bit beyond my mental capabilities. Many deaths later, mainly from this acid pool which has become the bane of my existence as it requires the most perfect jump in the world, and I do not have the depth perception for this. I'm not bitter. I'm just resentful and angry about it, but not bitter. But anyway, many deaths later, I reach the end again, only to discover that in a fight between a few out-of-shape Joker goons and a super strong cyborg with a laser-firing eye, the thugs are the actual victors. Who would have thought? Reaching the end yet again, this time I'm blown to pieces. Note to self, do not run straight at homicidal clown firing rockets. At this point I realized I shouldn't click new game, but instead just go back to level 1, and so on, using the mission selector. This would save me nearly an hour of rewatching the same unskippable cutscenes over and over again. I really wish I had thought of this many LEGO games ago. Finally reaching the tower fall for the 4th time, this time I managed to avoid the rockets, deadly pies, henchmen, and falling to debris. To think, all of this danger when they could have just taken the stairs or had Green Lantern fly them down. But where's the fun in that? Superman is too tired for the final fight with Joker and Luthor, and so the rest of the Justice League gets to work to beating them down. The Joker is incredibly easy to beat along with his horde of robots, but Luthor nearly does kill me while I try to burn him into the ground. I'm not ashamed to admit switching to Wonder Woman and staying as her invincible self is the only reason I managed to survive this fight. No way would I have survived Luthor's endless barrage without her. Showing zero mercy, I torched Luthor. But despite Robin and Wonder Woman being the 2 MVPs of this fight, neither can finish it. For some reason, the game demands that Batman do the final honors. Probably because it's his name on the game, I suppose. But he did the least this whole final fight. With a swift punch to Luthor, huzzah! LEGO Batman 2 has been beaten without dying a single time. This final run took 2 hours and 45 minutes to win, with 25 deaths preceding it. I spent about 18 hours in total on the challenge itself, though I gotta admit, much of that time was spent watching cutscenes repeatedly. Only 9 of those deaths were from something other than falling, especially into that atrocious acid pit. It obviously takes the reward for the hardest part of the challenge. The easiest part was all the vehicle missions, as I was never in any real danger. Can't say the same for the citizens of Gotham. Thank you all for watching another adventure in the LEGO No Dying Challenge story, and I hope you all enjoyed. Mayhaps, if ye did, you leave a like, or even subscribe for more adventures. Your support means more than all the studs in the world, even the purple ones. Now go find a buddy and get to conquering the world. I'm sure it'll make for quite the adventure. See you later, friends.